Okay, we're starting to get some swirl in our sky. So I'll come back down here now and soften that in a little more. All right, now we've got a couple of stars to put in here. I'm not sure how well this will work since we may have white or wet paint, but I'll try a white-yellow mix. I'll put one about right there, big one right here. I wonder where my tree's gonna go. I hope I left room for him. He needs to be about right there. So this star probably could come over a little more. And then we'll do a little one here. That'll do. That'll do. And they actually did show up. So I'll use the small brush, wipe all the water out of it and paint, and just do that yellow-white. Start building up some rings. Can't see it yet. Do a bold yellow, maybe even a little bit of orange in the yellow for the center. Oh, now that's where the wet paint underneath does make a difference. Okay, now we'll do a pale blue so we can see the rings. And as usual, these things will look better if we do more than one layer. But that's getting the point across. That's getting there. So, maybe we should go ahead and put in our cypress tree. And it is a funky shape. I'm going to mix this really dark green and black together and orange. So it should have a little bit of warmth from the orange. It's going to look kind of brown because it's just a really dark, murky color. But I think that's our base for our tree. It almost looks black as a shadow in the tree. So this murky dark green, that's a mix of green, black, and orange, works. All right, so if I look at the top of the tree, it comes something like this, down, back out, a little extra point here, and then it comes out here, and then we've got an extra little top of a second tree, I guess, maybe. Something like that. And I'll fill that in as just a dark shape. I should use the big brush, but I've already got the paint on my middle brush. And I will use the liner brush to get some actual little points on these. Kind of running out of paint. Looks a little more. Now then, look at my shape, and I feel like it needs to come out a little more here. Like that. And really, this one should come away. Well, let's just see. Okay, let's put a tip on you. And on you. That one got away from me. Oops. Oh, well, that happens sometimes. Okay. There's our close enough cypress tree. And the color, if I could zoom in, what color has he used? Like a rusty orange, which makes sense for a cypress tree, I think. Let's see. Oh, move up. Yeah, it's kind of a brown color with a little white for the texture in the tree. So we'll just use that same. Well, we won't use that color. We'll use orange plus a little bit of that color. You want more orange than that murky green we started with. So that's a lot of orange with just a little bit of that murky green, and it gives you this kind of orangey brown color. And then it's just a matter of doing little brush strokes again. To give that little tree some texture. And we'll go back with one lighter pass. We'll mix a little white into this and see what it gives us. Okay, so now I'll use the liner brush for this last layer. Since it's going to be lighter, I don't want it to be too loud, but I'm just mixing white with that. It's giving me kind of a tannish color, and I'll use that as just a little extra light. For our funky cypress. All right, there's our cypress. So now we're starting to get a little feel of this. Okay, so now let's look at the land masses and the colors that are in there. Okay, there we go. So this little pass of sky is same thing with a lot of yellow, blue, white. So cleaned out my middle brush. I'll go to a yellow-white mix and start doing those little brush strokes. Looks like there's more blue as you come down closer to the horizon. Now I'll go to a blue. Oops, I'll rinse first since the yellow and blue make green, so I'll rinse that brush out and go to a blue-white mix and start laying some of that in there. A little more blue sometimes. Maybe not quite that much. There we go. All right, and then a little more, maybe a whiter yellow, a lighter yellow, more white in it through here. Shouldn't have, now I have to paint around my tree. That's why he probably was the last thing I should have done, but oh well. I needed to get it in there just to see what was going on. Okay. A little darker blue here and there. And then these little hills are, they have a fairly defined black outline. So I'm going to take the liner brush and use black, and I'm just going to come in here and give that a nice little outline. And then over here it kind of comes down. And I think inside here there's one little slope. And then also this one has a black outline. Kind of like that. Okay. And then I will use the liner brush to do the detail on these. So we still want to keep the color dark, but it's going to be a blue, black, white mix. So a grayed out blue. And we're just going to kind of come along like this. And it's kind of following the slope of a hill. It gives it a sense of direction. And that's a very fast interpretation, but I think it gets the point across. And then back here, lighten that up. All right, we're getting into the area that we need a little church. We need these. Okay, so that's the dark blue. This is the blue. Oh, I feel like I missed a layer. This feels like the green bushes. Okay, we missed a layer somehow. Oops. That's okay. Because, well, maybe not. Okay, we're going to make this, we're going to say this is a pale blue hill because I kind of like it. I want it in there. So this gets this light blue. Just going to go like that. Short, choppy brush strokes. And a little darker blue in the mix. Oops, not quite that intense. When you start picking this painting apart, you can see all the detail that went into it. It's pretty amazing. But we're just doing our little interpretation for today. Okay, so let's do the church is important. I think that's something you don't want to leave out. And I'll just take the liner brush and black paint, and I'll do a little roof line, which falls actually down here about yay. So a little tiny building, little black doorway, back of roof. All right, there's one little building. Then there's a taller one behind it. And there's a little one that's kind of sideways to it. And then there's a little orangey roof over here. We'll include that. Oops. Shapes. You can't really see a lot of what's going on. And then there's just like I think you can just make buildings, roof lines, like coming out into this space, because that's the bottom of the painting. So they just run right off the canvas. Do another one here. Little house shapes. And then there's a big old bushy trees back here. And then you've got some little buildings over here. We're not going to spend a lot of time on them. Just little squares, rectangles are fine, just to give us the sense of buildings. And then there's a lot of rolling hills, or not hills, but like trees, I think, along in here. Okay, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. So I'm going to say middle brush, green for this. And my green is going to have orange, yellow, and black and white to make a dull green. I don't want it too bold. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's a good green. And I just want to kind of fill this in to suggest plant matter. And then also along here, behind these little buildings, there's one here. There's a big one over here. There's also a little green just kind of randomly through the foreground, which is good. We can use that. So some of these shapes, like I just see streaks with a little black in it. You know, there's just a lot going on. Let's see, little roof lines. Let's do this little roof. And this church is going to be mostly white, but it's got some color in it. It's not pure white. It's got a little gray in it. There's the church. And I can come back, since I'm losing my lines, and redefine them. And then for the steeple, I definitely need to use the tiny brush. So there is a shape. Let's see, it's on this one. Oops, let's gray that out a little bit. Not pure white. And make sure there's no water in my brush. That's not a good place for dripping. And then you just kind of come up. Now, this is where, oh shoot, this is where I bumped the camera. I want to be able to tell, sorry guys, calm down camera, okay. That was not very straight. You could use some kind of tool, I guess. I don't know, I think that's darn close. So now then, just to redefine those ambiguous shapes, I'll clean out my little brush, go back with the black, kind of clean this up, give it a doorway. Oops, that's wet. Redefine this edge of this roof. And really do that little orange roof. It's a dull orange. So for dull orange, we can add the complement, which is blue. There we go. Put that little pop of color in there. Since it's already on a blue background, you can make it a little brighter. And then there's just some little yellow lights here and there. So right about here, you see a little pop of yellow. In this building, you see a light. maybe here, here, and now I'm just kind of estimating what I see. Let's see. All right, so this little area, we'll give it a little bit of attention. So within those greens, let's do some whites or light pale blue, almost white, just to give it a little sense of, and I probably should use the tiny brush since we're in such a small area. All right, let's just give these a little rolling suggestion here. Everything in his paintings is moving. And what else? A little blue in here. And those trees. A little blue in this one. A little blue through here. A blue and right. Oops. A roof line here, maybe. Another one here. If they get too bright, go back with some black and blue and kind of soften them in. So you could spend a lot of time kind of trying to determine what all he's doing here, but I feel like we've got the essence of it. We can do a little bit of these rolling shapes that he's got going on. Maybe a little more light on those, some of those shapes. Oops, that was a big blob. Maybe back here. Feels like there's some light. And then, I don't know what's going on. You get lost in this, don't you? All right. And then I might do one more layer of white on these little buildings because they kind of want to stand out. That may be too much. And then the steeple, the not so straight steeple. Okay, so yeah, this is our loose interpretation of Van Gogh's Starry Night. Looking at those, these might be a little too light, so I'll go back with, I think I just need some black outlining around them, so they're not so stark. I didn't quite finish these guys in the foreground. I guess there's another little building there, but this one has a little bit of that brown color in the roof. Put that in there. This one. A little bit of brown back here. Don't know what it is. Just seeing shapes now. I think, other than going back, you can always come back in here and play more with, doing smaller brush strokes. Oops, that's got a little brown in it. You could play with this forever. And studying the original painting is a really good, exercise. So take your time and either look it up on your computer or print out a copy, whatever, and play with painting like Van Gogh. I hope you enjoyed that and my rather quick interpretation, and we'll paint again soon. Thanks.